Hey everybody, and welcome to another segment of AstrologyAnswers.com's weekly forecast. My name is Terence. The week begins on Monday, January the 16th, 2023. Big, important week of shifting energies. Perfect week to start planning and moving forwards with the new year as Mercury goes direct on January the 18th. And on the 21st will be the first new moon of the new year. The new moon is always planting seeds for a new chapter for the next month. The rule of thumb in astrology, you don't want to make important decisions or launch major new projects the week before a new moon, because it's the last week of the previous new moon cycle. And so it is in the last week, which is this week, is a winding down, a wrapping up, a bringing closure. So you would be swimming against the current if you tried to launch anything important new. Plus, Mercury's in retrograde until Wednesday, the 18th. And it takes a few days, a week or so actually, for communication discerning Mercury to start as it's moving forwards, to get back to its regular speed. Because when it's slowly moving forwards, that's a good thing because it's moving forwards, but it's still slow. Think of it as your mind, your mental faculties is still slow, still sluggish. You may be moving in the right directions. You may be feeling a little bit more confident, but you're still maybe a little hesitant. That's that slowness to make really important decisions. So this is a week of preparation for the new year coming, the new year plans and goals. So let's start with Monday on the 16th. The moon is in Scorpio. The moon sets the public tone. Scorpio is all this intense, all or nothing, passionate energy. But Scorpio tends to be very private, can be more introspective. However, around 7 a.m. to about 8 a.m. or so in Pacific time, the moon will be opposite Uranus. Once a month, this happens. Opposite means other external situations, other people, other outside events that could trigger some exciting news or some unexpected stressful news. By late morning Pacific time, the moon, intense Scorpio moon, will be in tension with Venus. Now, Venus wants harmony. The moon is wants that nurturing, bonding energy. So they're two very favorable planetary energies. But when they're in tension, you might be feeling that you're not on the same page. You want other things. On Tuesday, the moon leaves intense, more private Scorpio and goes into outgoing, optimistic, playful Sagittarius at 9:35 a.m. Pacific time. And by mid-afternoon, as the moon is moving through Sagittarius, it's going to be in harmony with expansive Jupiter. Jupiter is the planet that's associated with Sagittarius. So Sagittarius, Jupiter, all means the same thing, basically. A lot of traveling, a lot of teaching, publishing, feeling more upbeat, optimistic. These are all the qualities of the moon in Sag, but more emphasized when it's favorable with the Jupiter, mid-afternoon Pacific time. On Wednesday, the 18th, now Mercury can slowly start moving forwards. And the moon continues in upbeat Sagittarius, but also on the 18th, as Mercury is shifting gears and we're starting to really ponder and think about what we want to do for the new year, the sun in Capricorn will align with Pluto. This happens once a year, and it is a day, that's the sun, of profound change. Now, this could be, and with Mercury going direct, that could really intensify your thinking processes. This could be a really favorable day for deep introspection, for counseling, because Pluto rules the underworld, it rules the unconscious, it rules psychology. On a more mundane level, instead of it just being so intense and profound, with the Pluto's like letting go. This would be a great day as Mercury is going direct. Get rid of all the clothes, donate them to charity that you haven't worn in 2 years. Clean out the closets, clean out the garage, whatever. It's like all that stuff it's kind of a reflection of your old patterns, your old psychological stuff. It's a good day. Let it go. Which is also why it's a good day for counseling or even having an astrology reading to give you a lot of more in-depth personal insights. On Thursday, the moon will be void of course. And as I mention every week, it's when the moon is changing signs, but no longer making aspects to other planets. So there isn't any activity, no lunar, the moon, activity. So the energy is flat. The energy is unproductive. You don't want to make important decisions, launch important new events. That's from 2:10 a.m. Pacific time until 11:13 a.m. Pacific time, at which point the moon goes into Capricorn. Well, when the moon's in Sagittarius, it's expansive, it's playful, it's extroverted. Then the moon goes into Capricorn for a couple of days, and Capricorn is more sensible, more practical. Let's get down to business. Let's get the job done. And by around late afternoon, 5 into 6:30 p.m. Pacific time, the moon will be making attention to lucky expansive Jupiter. But because of the tension, it might be where you have a tendency to overdo or over-expect. Fortunately, the moon's in Capricorn. It keeps you more sensible and realistic. So on Friday, the moon continues in Capricorn for the whole day. But it's going to be very favorable for innovative, eclectic Uranus late morning Pacific time. This will help get you out of a rut. Now, the moon will go into Aquarius on Saturday, setting up the new moon in Aquarius. So on Friday, the moon is in the shadow sector before becoming new. And this can be a time of either a real holding pattern or a lot of deep reflection. And with the moon with Uranus late Friday morning, this would be ideal for triggering a lot of insights, perspective of what you need to shake up, let go, and move forwards. As we go into Saturday, the 21st, is the new moon. Now, the moon will continue in Capricorn, being more pragmatic and sensible, till about 10:30 a.m. Pacific time. That is when it moves. The moon goes into the public Aquarius. The new moon will start exactly around 1 p.m. Pacific time, but you'll start really feeling it set up after 10:30 a.m. There's a new moon once a month. Wherever the new moon shines in your chart, that's where your attention and priorities are being more directed. The previous new moon 4 weeks ago was in Capricorn, all about tradition, wrapping up the old year, preparing for the new. But now on the 21st, the new moon in Aquarius, Aquarius is futuristic. Aquarius is very progressive. And so it's trying to really awaken new ideas, and making, and really focusing on your future and your long range goals. Late afternoon, around 6 p.m. Pacific time, with that new moon, it's going to be in harmony with Jupiter. You're going to be feeling more upbeat, but it could also be a good day into Sunday for making Jupiter plans. That's educational plans, marketing, publishing. Later in the afternoon on Saturday, around 5 to 6 p.m. Pacific time, as the new moon is unfolding, it's going to be in harmony with upbeat, optimistic Jupiter, the ruler of Sagittarius. And so this would be where you're feeling more confident to make plans for the new year. That's the Jupiter, especially educational plans, travel plans, marketing plans. The marketing plan or publishing plans could be like opening up a new website, launching a new website, updating it. And on Sunday, as the moon continues in Aquarius, eclectic, futuristic Aquarius, by late morning Pacific time, it will be in tension with Uranus. Well, Uranus is the ruler of Aquarius. That moon-Uranus tension could bring some unexpected surprises. The positive of looking at this is the moon can represent our habits. And this could be with that moon to Uranus Sunday morning or later in the day, depending on where you are in the world. You could you might be more compelled to shake yourself out of old patterns, get unstuck, and be open to new. As Venus, pleasure-seeking, relational Venus will be aligned with taskmaster reality Saturn. Well, the moon Uranus could bring in some unexpected emotional upsets as relational Venus aligned with Saturn. For some, that could be realizing this is the beginning of the end and you need to start being realistic and let a relationship go. All kinds of relationships. On the positive, this could be where you're realizing that you've been taking things for granted in a relationship, and it's now time to start taking more accountability, make more commitments, make that proposal. But overall, it can be favorable for working, that's the Saturn, on healing and maintaining the relationship, that's Venus. I want to thank you for tuning in. I hope to see you next week with my next segment. Until then, be safe and well.